He escaped a violent street gang in Honduras. He nearly drowned crossing the Rio Grande. He made it to Florida in search of peace, but instead he ended up on death row. Clemente Aguirre didn't murder anyone, but the system wasn't searching for the truth. It was looking for someone to blame. This is Into the Unknown. Tonight, we follow the trail of blood, lies, and the science that nearly cost an innocent man his life. Clemente's story began far from Florida, in the small, rural towns of Honduras where violence was an everyday threat. As a teenager, he was known in the community as Shorty because of his small stature. For a while, he was seen as something of a novelty, even by the local gangs who dominated his neighborhood. But that brief window of protection didn't last. The violence escalated, people disappeared, and one day, Clemente's best friend was murdered, his body dumped in the street as a warning. That moment changed everything. Clemente knew if he stayed, he'd be next. So, he fled, crossed through Mexico, swam the Rio Grande, and nearly drowned. He was eventually smuggled into the United States in a hidden compartment of a car and made his way to Sanford, Florida. Within days, he found work, first on a golf course, then at a restaurant. He moved into a small trailer on a street called Vagabond Way. Next door lived 3 generations of women, a grandmother, a mother, and a daughter. Though Clemente didn't speak English, they got along okay, and he occasionally partied with the daughter. The trailers had an open door vibe. People came and went, partied, and shared the space. It was messy and unstructured, but it didn't feel dangerous. Until one morning, everything changed. June 17, 2004, just after sunrise, Clemente had been out partying and came home looking to wind down with a beer. He walked next door, something that he'd done many times before. But this time, the door wouldn't open. Something heavy was blocking it. He pushed his way in and found the mother's body on the floor. The grandmother was slumped in her wheelchair, also dead. Clemente yelled, desperate for a sign of life. He checked the bodies, but they were all deceased. He scanned the room and noticed a bloody butcher knife sitting on a box. And he picked it up. Maybe it was shock, maybe instinct. Maybe he just didn't know what else to do. Either way, it was the move that would nearly cost him his life. Then it hit him. He was undocumented. They'd never believe him. He ran back to his trailer, still shaking. He tore off his bloody clothes, stuffed them in a garbage bag, and tossed it on the roof. Then he went to a friend's house and told him everything. The friend said exactly what you'd expect. You need to get out of town now. But Clemente refused. He believed that telling the truth would protect him, that this was America and the system would understand. So a few hours later, he walked back to the crime scene and approached the police voluntarily. He told them everything, where he found the bodies, how he reacted, even that he'd picked up the knife. And for telling the truth, they arrested him on the spot. There was no motive, no history of violence, no witnesses, but for the prosecution, that didn't matter. They had blood on his clothes because he touched the victims. They had prints on a knife because he picked the knife up. And they saw fear in his eyes because he told the truth and panicked. Crime scene investigators collected 151 blood samples from the trailer. All of it potential evidence, all of it critical. But not one single sample was tested before the trial. And among all that blood, there was one detail no one followed up on. A partial handprint, smeared in blood, left on the mother's back. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Clemente Aguirre was sentenced to death. Years passed. Clemente sat on death row, alone in a concrete cell, while the clock ticked toward a date that hadn't yet been set. He lost birthdays, family, hope. He watched other men walk to their executions, and all he could do was wait. Then a letter arrived. It was from the Innocence Project. They had reviewed his case, and something didn't sit right. There was no physical evidence tying him to the murders, and yet 151 blood samples had been collected from the crime scene. Every single one left untested. The Innocence Project made a simple request: test the blood. What came back was explosive. The DNA didn't belong to Clemente. It belonged to the daughter. Her blood was found inches from her mother's mutilated body in the bathroom, the very room prosecutors had claimed the killer used to clean up, on the outside of the bedroom window, and mixed with her mother's blood inside her own room. This wasn't minor trace DNA. This was active bloodshed from a killer. Even more disturbing, investigators had overlooked signs pointing directly at her. She had a history of psychiatric illness, intermittent explosive disorder. Medical records revealed she had once told her mother, "If I ever get out of here, I'll kill you." And she had confessed multiple times to people in town. Still, the state refused to admit they were wrong. Then came the detail they had missed or ignored. Back at the crime scene, investigators had noticed something odd. A partial handprint on the victim's back with only 3 fingers. At the time, no one could explain it. It was filed away, forgotten until the daughter took the stand. The Innocence Project had obtained a court order to photograph her hands. And there it was. Her pinky, twisted and curled under, permanently damaged from a tendon injury years earlier. The moment she held up her hand, it all came together. 3 fingers, no pinky. Exactly what was left on her mother's body. The bloody mark investigators couldn't explain? It had been screaming the truth from the very beginning. After 14 years behind bars, 10 of them on death row, Clemente Aguirre walked free. Just days later, Clemente stood on a beach in Miami, beer in hand, ocean breeze in his face, alive and free. He had believed the truth would protect him, and that belief nearly cost him his life. The evidence was there the whole time. No one bothered to look. This wasn't just a mistake. It was a system that refused to listen. When prosecutors prioritize winning over truth, when evidence is ignored, when prejudice overrides facts, justice dies. This is Into the Unknown, Unsolved Mysteries and True Crime. If you found Clemente's story as shocking as we did, subscribe, share, and remember, sometimes justice doesn't just fail, it refuses to try.